rising or lowering the voltage of an AC supply with a corresponding decrease or increase in current. So here a transformer is used to increase or decrease the voltage of an AC supply. Now if you increase the voltage, what happens to the current? Current reduces as input power is equal to output power. So if you increase the voltage at the output of the transformer, the current reduces. Similarly, if you reduce the voltage at the output of the transformer, current increases. So if voltage increases, current decreases. If voltage decreases, current increases. Right. So here a transformer. Now coming to the transformer. So the diagram, it is a schematic diagram. So it is showing only the important parts. So it will. So for explaining the working of a transformer, we are going to use schematic diagram. So a transformer consists of many parts. So this is the schematic diagram used for explaining the working principle of a transformer. Now here, a transformer consists of two windings, the primary and the secondary, wound on a common laminated magnetic core. So you know that magnetic core. Magnetic core means made up of magnetic material like iron, steel. Okay. What is meant by
Sir,
laminated?
screen is not visible, sir.
Wait. Okay. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So a transformer is a static piece of equipment used for rising or lowering the voltage of an AC supply with a corresponding decrease or increase in current. So if you increase the voltage, current reduces. If you decrease the voltage, current increases because input power is equal to output power. So if the output voltage is greater than input voltage, so current will be less. Output current will be less than input current. So here, uh, a transformer, if you take a transformer, it essentially consists of two windings, the primary and the secondary, wound on a common magnetic material, wound on a common laminated magnetic core. So you know that a magnetic core means it is made up of magnetic material like iron, steel, etc. So magnetic material means it can be made as which can pass the magnetic flux. So here, so what is meant by laminated? Laminated means it is made up of sheets. So you may have seen this type of sheets. So here, so this type of sheets will be there. So if you see any transformer, small transformer, in a, so what do you say, in LED also, LED bulb also, you can see a small transformer. In charger also, you can see a small transformer. Okay. So here the core is made up of sheets, thin sheets, and the sheets are insulated from each other. And the sheets are insulated from each other by a varnish coating. So here, the core is not a solid core; it is made up of laminations. That means it is made up of thin sheets. The sheets are insulated from another sheet by a coating of varnish. So these thin sheets are called as laminations. So here, the core is made up of laminations. So here, why the core is made up of laminations means in order to reduce the eddy current losses. So here that I am going to explain in detail. So here the core is made up of laminations. So here laminated magnetic core. You can see you have a magnetic core which is made up of laminations. Next, so what is meant by primary and what is meant by secondary? So here the winding which is connected to supply is called as primary. The winding connected to the AC source. So here the AC source is V1. V1 is the AC source. So here the winding connected to the AC source is called primary winding or simply primary. And the winding connected to load is called secondary winding. So here right side you can see a load. You can see secondary. So this secondary is consisting of N2 turns. Okay. And it is connected to the load. So here the winding which is connected to the load is called as secondary winding or simply secondary. So here in this schematic diagram you can see a magnetic core. In the middle you have a common magnetic core and primary winding which is connected to the supply, that is the AC source. P1 is the AC source. So to this primary winding is connected. So the winding which is connected to the source is called as primary. And the right side you can see secondary winding. Why it is called secondary winding means it is connected to the load. The winding which is connected to the load is called as secondary winding. Now here you can see here. So primary winding is having N1 number of turns. The number of turns in the secondary is N2. And here the supply voltage is V1. And here when the winding is connected to the supply, here you can see the primary winding is connected to the supply and here a current I1 is flowing. Current I1 is flowing in the winding. Now here we are doing AC voltage. V1 is the AC voltage. We can see a sinusoidal symbol is there for V1 and here V1 is the alternating voltage. So when an alternating voltage flows in the winding, so here we are applying a voltage to this winding. Winding is nothing but an inductor. So current I1 is flowing. So here due to this current, you have already seen that EMF will be induced in the winding. When alternating current flows in the inductor, EMF will be induced in the inductor. So that inductor, the voltage is given by V equal to L di by dt. So here E1 is the induced EMF. E1 is the induced EMF. So how EMF is induced? When an alternating current flows, so here first we are giving the alternating voltage. So alternating current will be flowing. So the flux will be alternating. So when an alternating flux links with the coil, EMF will be induced in the coil. So capital E1 is the RMS value of the induced EMF. Next, you can see the same flux is linking with the secondary coil, secondary winding. So here in the middle you have the magnetic core. So flux phi is flowing in this magnetic core. So this flux phi is linking with both primary and secondary. And here it induces EMF E1 in the primary and induces the EMF E2 in the secondary. So you can see the secondary induced EMF E2. So capital E2 is the RMS value of the induced EMF in the secondary winding. And when this winding is connected to the load, current E2 will be flowing and V2 is the terminal voltage. So this all explained here. You can see here. The winding connected to AC source. The winding connected to the AC source is called primary winding or simply primary, and the winding connected to load is called secondary winding or simply secondary. So here the alternating voltage V1 whose magnitude is to be changed is applied to the primary. Next, depending upon the number of turns of the primary, that is N1, and the secondary N2, an alternating EMF E2 is induced in the secondary. So there is a relation between E1, N1 and N2 that I am going to derive now. So here E2 is the EMF induced in the secondary. Next, this induced EMF E2 in the secondary causes a secondary current I2. So when a load is connected, then only the current I2 will be flowing. So consequently, the terminal voltage V2 will appear across the load. So voltage across the load is V2. So if V2 is greater than V1, the transformer is called as step-up transformer. If V2 is less than V1, the transformer is called step-down transformer. If we use the transformer to increase the voltage, it is called as a step-up transformer. If you use the transformer to decrease the voltage, it is called as step-down transformer. Now coming to the working. So here working, you can see here, when an alternating voltage V1 is applied to the primary, and alternating flux phi is set up in the core, already as shown in the diagram. So flux phi is set up in the core. This alternating flux links both the windings. This clear? So this alternating flux links with both primary and secondary. So this alternating flux links both windings and induces EMFs E1 and E2 in the. So E1 and E2 are the EMFs induced in the primary and secondary, according to Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. So the EMF E1 is termed as primary EMF, and the EMF E2 is termed as secondary EMF. So next, I am going to show the EMF equation. So let us take the. So we have the alternating flux phi. So alternating flux phi can be written as phi m sin omega t. Phi m sin omega t. As flux is common in both the windings, so flux I am taking as reference. So it is starting from 0 when omega t equal to 0. So phi equal to phi m sin omega t. Next, as per Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction, induced EMF E1 is equal to minus N1 d phi by dt. E1 is the induced EMF in the primary winding. N1 is the number of turns in the primary winding. Phi is the flux which is linking with the winding. Let me see one message here. Okay. Next. So here. Yes, yeah, keep your microphone in mute. Keep your microphone in mute. Okay. So here, so according to Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction, E1 is equal to minus N1 d phi by dt. What is small e1? E1 is the instantaneous value. E1, small e1 represents instantaneous value. So minus N1 d phi by dt. So substitute the expression for phi. Phi equal to phi m sin omega t. So here, if you differentiate phi m sin omega t with respect to t, so you are going to get omega phi m cos omega t. Okay. So here omega equal to 2 pi f. Substitute omega equal to 2 pi f. Then here finally you are going to get small e1. Small e1 is equal to 2 pi f n1 phi m sin omega t minus 90 degrees. So what is the maximum value of the flux? 2 pi f n1 phi m. So that I am going to write as em. Next. So here Now RMS value of the E1 is capital E1 and it is equal to EM by E1M. So why I have written 1M means, so here E1M means maximum value of induced EMF in primary winding. 1 represents primary winding. So here the RMS value of E1 is capital E1 and it is given by E1M by root 2. So finally you are going to get 2 pi of N1 phi m by root 2 is the RMS value of induced EMF in primary. So here if you simplify you are going to get 4.44 Fn phi m is the value of induced EMF, RMS value of induced EMF in primary. Similarly, you can going to get, you are going to get E2 equal to 4.44 F N2 phi m, F N2 phi m. So in exam they are asking this derivation. So once again I am explaining the derivation. So you have flux is common in both the windings. So flux is taken as reference. Phi equal to phi m sin omega t. So the equation itself it shows when omega t equal to 0, flux is 0. So here, so phi is a reference. Next, you want induced EMF. So E1 equal to minus n d phi by dt. So this is according to Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. So why minus means the direction of the induced EMF will be opposite to the cause. So what is the cause? Alternating flux or the supply voltage. So here finally you are going to get, if you will do the differentiation, finally you are going to get small e1 equal to 2 pi f n1 phi m sin omega t minus 90. So I am writing how you got this one means you are writing minus cos omega t as sin omega t minus 90 degrees. From this we are going to get the maximum value. Maximum value will be 2 pi f n1 phi m. Maximum value of sine function is 1. So here maximum value of induced EMF is 2 pi f n1 phi m. So I am writing it as E1m. So the maximum value I am writing as E1m. Next, if I want the RMS value of E1, so it can be obtained by maximum value by root 2. That is E1m by root 2. So finally you are going to get capital E1 as 4.44 Fn n1 phi m. Similarly, E2 will be equal to 4.44 Fn2 phi m. If you see the equation, so the only difference is between the number of turns. So E1 we are getting N1 and in E2 equation we are having N2. So this is about the EMF equation. Next. Now here you have some important points. See here, the transformer action is based on the laws of electromagnetic induction. So Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. Next, there is no electrical connection. There is no electrical connection between the primary and the secondary. The AC power is transferred from primary to secondary through magnetic flux. Now here, if you see the diagram of the schematic diagram of transformer, so here there is no electrical connection between the windings. So the two windings are connected by magnetic circuit. So there is no electrical connection between the primary and secondary. The AC power is transferred from primary to secondary through magnetic flux. Okay, and here there is no change of frequency. Third point, there is no change of frequency. That is, output power has same frequency as the input power. There is no change in frequency. That is, output power has same frequency as the input power. Next, fourth point, the losses that occur in the transformer are core losses. Core losses means the losses which occur in the core of the transformer. Those are eddy current losses and hysteresis losses. Eddy current losses and hysteresis losses. Next, copper losses. So copper losses occur in the winding of the transformer, which is made up of copper. The winding is made up of copper. So it is the losses which occur in the copper winding are called as copper losses. So that occurs mainly due to the resistance of the winding. Yes, keep your microphone in mute. See here, the losses which occur in the transformer are core losses, copper losses. Core losses occur in the core of the transformer. Copper losses occur in the copper winding of the transformer, that is primary winding and secondary winding. So the copper losses occur due to resistance of the winding. Next, so here, if you see these losses, core losses, copper losses, they are very small. Okay, so here core losses we are going to reduce by laminating the core, and we are going to reduce the copper losses by reducing the resistance of the winding. So here winding resistance will be very small, so no need to worry about it. So here, so finally copper losses will be very small because we are using copper winding, so copper losses will be very small. And coming to core losses, we are going to reduce the core losses by laminating the core. By use of laminations, we are going to reduce the core losses. And so in core losses, we have eddy current losses and hysteresis losses. Eddy current losses can be reduced by laminating the core. Coming to hysteresis losses can be reduced by using high grade silicon steel. High grade steel. By using high grade steel material, we are going to reduce the hysteresis losses. So here you know that hysteresis loop. So here area under the hysteresis loop is proportional to hysteresis losses. If you use high grade steel like CRGO steel, then the area of the hysteresis curve can be reduced, and hysteresis losses can be reduced. So here if you see these losses, core losses, you can see eddy current losses. I am going to explain about eddy current losses further in detail. So eddy current losses can be reduced by laminating the core by use of laminations. That is, if you make the core by using thin sheets, we are going to reduce the eddy current losses. And hysteresis losses can be reduced by using high grade steel like CRGO steel. CRGO means cold rolled grain oriented silicon steel. Next, so here in practice these losses are very small. that is core losses and copper losses are very small. So that output power from secondary is nearly equal to the input power in primary. So output power is equal to input power if you neglect these small losses. So here transformer has very high efficiency when compared to other electrical machines because losses in a transformer are very less. So there are two types of constructions. So constructional details of single phase. So first one is the core type transformer. Second one is the shell type transformer. So a core type means so here on the two legs of the here you can see a core is a rectangular shape, and on the core you have these windings. So windings HV winding and LV winding. HV means high voltage, LV means low voltage. So here half part of the low voltage winding is wound just after the core. So after the core you are on the core you are going to have the uh, half part of the LV winding, and another half is wound on the second leg. Next, so whatever the diagram is there, left side whatever the diagram you see, that is the core type transformer, and it is a cross sectional view. Cross sectional view. Next, high voltage winding, HV winding. You can see the HV winding on the LV winding. We are going to wound the HV winding. Half part of the HV winding is wound over the LV winding, and another half is wound on the LV winding. So if you see the diagram, so here on the core you are going to have LV winding. After the LV winding, you are going to have HV winding. So here you can see the common flux phi. Next, so coming to the shell type, that is figure B. Figure B, shell type, right side you can see here. So here LV winding, HV winding so are interleaved. So first we are going to have LV winding, next HV winding, then LV winding, then HV winding. Alternatively, it is placed. So why this type of arrangement is placed? So in order to reduce the leakage flux, this type of arrangement is made. So here if you see here, in iron core transformer, most of the flux is confined to high permeability core. There is however some flux that leaks through core legs and non-magnetic material surrounding the core. This flux is called leakage flux. The flux which is not common is called as leakage flux. So here you can see the common flux is phi. Some part of the flux will be leaking. That is called a leakage flux. Links one winding and not the other winding. So this leakage flux will link only one winding and not the other winding. So the flux linking with both the winding is the common flux. The flux which is not linking is the leakage flux. So a reduction in this leakage flux is desirable as it improves the transformer performance considerably. So consequently, an effort is always made to reduce it. In core type transformer, it is achieved by placing half of the low voltage winding over one leg and other half over the second leg. So this leg is also called as limb. For the high voltage winding also, half of the winding is over one leg and other half over the second leg. Next, one important point here, LV is placed adjacent to the steel core and HV winding is outside. in order to reduce the amount of insulation required. So here the amount of insulation required is proportional to the voltage. If more voltage means more insulation. So here if our insulation is not proper, then breakdown of the insulation may occur. So the properties of the insulator will vanish if the insulator breaks down. So here what is meant by breakdown means, so liberation of free electrons is called as breakdown. So insulator means there will no electrons, free electrons. So here if see here core is there, adjacent to the core we have LV winding, after the core we have HV winding. So the amount of insulation required will be less. So core to LV winding, so the amount of insulation required will be less, so which reduces the cost. So here by this arrangement, first advantage is we are going to reduce the leakage flux. Second one is we are going to reduce the amount of insulation. So here in figure B in shell type also you can see here the LV winding is kept adjacent to the core. After the LV winding, HV winding. So between LV and the HV there will be insulation, and between the LV and core you have insulation. Next, in the shell type transformer, see here, in the shell type transformer, the LV and HV windings are wound over with a central limb and are interleaved or sandwiched. Another word for interleaved is sandwiched. As shown in figure B, note on that bottom and top LV coils are of half the size of the other LV coils. Okay. Next, shell type transformer are preferred for low voltage, low power levels. So you can see the shell type transformer in a charger. You can see a shell type transformer. In a adapter, you can see a shell type of transformer. Also in the LED bulb, also there will be a shell type transformer. In LED bulb, what happens? The high voltage 230 volts is reduced to some less voltage, and then that less voltage will be low voltage will be rectified, converted to DC. Okay, by using diodes. Next, that DC will be given to the LEDs which are connected in series. So here, shell type transformers are preferred for low voltage, low power levels, whereas core type transformers are used for high voltage and high power transformers. So high voltage, whatever the transformers we see, high voltage 11 kV, 33 kV, 400 kV, those are all high voltage. High voltage, high power transformers are having core type construction. In core type of transformer, here also you can see here, in core type transformer the flux has single path around the legs. Legs are also called as yokes. So this I will show in the figure. In the left side figure you can see here there is only one path for the flux. Flux is having only one path, and always the magnitude of the flux is phi only. Now here if you see the second figure, okay, if you see the figure B, if you see the figure B, in the central limb, the flux is pi by 2 plus pi by 2. Total flux is pi. that flux gets divided into 5/2 and 5/2. So 5/2 flows through outer legs, and in the central leg, the flux will be 5. So in core type transformer, the flux will be having a single path, and in shell type, the flux gets divided here. In core type transformer, the flux has a single path around the legs or yokes, in that is shown in figure A. In shell type transformer, the flux in the central limb divides equally and returns through the outer two legs as shown in figure B. Next, there are two types of windings employed for transformer. First one is the concentric coils as used for core type transformer as shown in figure 1, figure A, and interleaved, that is sandwiched coils for shell type transformers as shown in figure B. So you can see concentric coils are placed in a core type transformer, and interleaved windings are placed in the shell type transformer. So this is about the constructional details regarding the winding and the core, winding and core itself. So apart from, you are going to have other parts. So next, so BH curve. So in exam they are asking this BH curve. So here BH curve, already you know that. So BH curve, B is taken on y axis. B is the flux density. Flux density, flux per area. Flux per area is the flux density. So you know area units are meter square. Flux units are Weber. So Weber per meter square is the unit for flux density. So flux per square meter is the flux density. So here, next, in BH curve, so B is the flux density and H is the magnetic field intensity, or it is called as magnetizing force. So H is the magnetizing force, B is the magnetic flux density. Next, so here, if you increase the magnetizing force, flux density increases, right? So left side of figure you can see here, as you increase the value of H, B also increases. So here you can see points A and B, points A and B on the curve. After B, from A to B, so it is a linear. So the flux density is increasing linearly with H. After the point B, so even if you increase the H, B is not increasing much. And after some point, the B is not increasing, it is remaining constant. So here this is due to saturation. So even if you increase the magnetizing force, the flux will be constant. That is due to saturation. So here the magnetic material cannot pass the flux above that value. That is due to saturation of the core. The core gets saturated and the flux density will be constant even if you increase the magnetizing force. Next, so here figure shows the general shape of BH curve of a magnetic material. The non-linearity of the curve indicates that the relative permeability mu r, which is given by B by mu naught H here. So mu r is equal to B by mu naught H. Or simply you can see here, you know that B equal to mu naught mu r H. So from that you are going to get mu r. So the mu r of the magnetic material is not constant but depends very largely upon the magnetic flux density. Next you have the figure B. It shows how the relative permeability mu r of a magnetic material changes with magnetic flux density. So here second second curve, if you see here, y-axis is the mu r and x-axis is the B. So mu r changes with magnetic flux density. So here by increasing the magnetic flux density, mu r increases to a maximum value, and after that you are, if you increase the magnetic flux density B, that is shown on the x-axis, so the value of the mu r reduces. So based upon this you are going to curve like this. So from A to B the curve is linear. After B you are going to see saturation occurs. So next, this is about BH curve. They are asking sometimes in the exam. So next, coming to the ideal transformer. So tomorrow I will continue this ideal transformer. So I'm going to send this notes to you. So let me take the attendance now.